Yo, Sebas, what's up?
Hey Joey.
How have you been?
Good. Yeah, I'm doing well. How are you?
It's been a while. I'm doing well. It's a turbulent year.
Yeah, it's been a crazy year, I think, for
Yeah,
everyone, except artists and certain sub industries.
yeah, exactly. Because how have things been with you? Because you're active at Sorted still.
No, I'm not really working for Sorted.
Mm-hmm.
I'm working with them a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Through the artist side of things. Revealed recordings. And the social media agency still going really well. Yeah, so more focused on that. And it's actually before COVID, I decided I want to focus more on the music, like the record industry, record music label.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a little bit of a coincidence that I start focusing on other stuff instead of management.
Yeah,
And they're, management in general, they're struggling, of course, really hard because they're depending on commission of
yeah,
artist bookings. And but the record label, it's more long tail business with many releases. And of
mm-hmm.
course, during COVID, people are listening less to dance music, so we were definitely affected, but not as much as other industries like restaurants or
Yeah,
management or agencies or that kind of. So we're kind of lucky, I think. It was not a
yeah.
bad, was not the worst year ever. So we're happy with that.
That's good to hear.
Yeah,
And you're also pretty active with Nextly, right?
yeah. So yeah, I think last time we talked about it also. So I'm also working for. I started a social media agency with a
Mm-hmm.
few co-founders. And it's actually interesting because that business kind of accelerated because a lot of clients they were depending on different sources of income. For example, events. We have like a speaker, like a health guru, for example. She used to make her first income stream of income was really events, and at one point there was no events anymore. So we were like really helping her with acceleration, business acceleration, to find other means.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, we started our Shopify and direct consumer, and that because she's in the health industry, she actually had an amazing year because a lot of people, because of COVID, they want to live and eat healthier. So they were looking for solutions and vitamins and how to have a better, healthier life. So she really, it's a she, and she really grew really fast in that business. And so one business went down, but
Yeah,
innovate and find new business models kind of accelerated in the past 2 years.
yeah.
So I think it's that's it's healthier for the business to not depend on just events. So I think all the
Yeah.
clients saw a big change in that. So that was also kind of a good development.
Yeah. I guess COVID in general brought a lot more attention to social media, like for artists as well. One of the struggles I noticed with many artists is that social media has always been this thing on their leg that they were supposed to do
Yeah.
and were obligated to do, but never really were interested in. And now they found themselves in a position where they really needed to do it because there was no other way to connect with your fan base.
Yeah, the
So I
fan
think,
relation is more important than ever,
yeah,
and before you were as an artist you were booked maybe through an event, and they were actually doing the marketing and actually owning the fan relation, actually doing all the work.
mm,
Um, and as long as you put the music out there and you have some traction, on the streaming portals and people play your music and actually enjoy your music, then it will be fine. You will still booked for these events because the promoters, they know, okay, this artist is buzzing and he will sell tickets. Uh, and now suddenly that whole machine of events and festivals was pretty much gone. And of course you had live streams, etc. But it was not really a serious, I think, not a super serious stream of income. So a lot of artists, yeah, you're right, they were like seeing that, I think, the gap, huge gap, and they had to be creative, and suddenly actually work on their social media instead of just ticking some checkboxes.
Yeah, exactly.
Do the usual event announcement and all the standard stuff. Now they actually had to really think about it and really innovate quickly to make money on the site, because there's no because the events, you were not making any money for a long time now. And now you see, we're probably going to talk about this a lot, but you see now the fan relationship is more important than ever, because now there's actually a way to make money with not just streaming music, but also like the NFTs and the whole
Yeah.
metaverse concept. So you already see like artists who are ahead of the fan relationship and doing the social media already. They already built that trust.
Oh, the audio got it. I think it's earplugs.
So shit.
Yeah.
Can
Now it's back.
you hear me now? All right.
Yeah, I can hear. But that's
So
what you saw in the beginning, especially with Twitch. In the beginning, every artist out there started to live stream on Twitch, live sets or Q and
yeah.
A's or whatever they did. That took about a month, maybe two, where an artist found out like, holy shit, this cost me a lot of hours and it doesn't really bring me some sort of revenue.
Mm.
And then a few months later, the first wave of NFTs entered, and a lot of especially bigger names jumped on that to sell their first drop of NFTs, made some money doing that.
Yeah.
That also cooled down by now. So there has been a few trends where you can clearly see artists looking for new streams of income.
Yeah, first
And
was really COVID, hit in March,
yeah,
really, and then I received like a few months later, I received a lot of pitch decks suddenly about the new platform for artists and festivals and labels to make money, and it was like every week was a new company created, to make really support the artists. But I mean, like they were like, okay, you have a live stream, but you don't make actually any money. And then some one platform asked my opinion, like, what do you think about this? Should I, put more time in this? Like, well, what's going to happen is, first of all, you're one of the many platforms doing the same thing because everyone is jumping on this gap.
hmm.
Plus, the big social media platforms, they also probably going to jump in, because back then in April, May, you already saw Instagram helping small businesses with like, it's like a sticker where you can support small business, where you can tag
Yeah.
small businesses. And I already told him like back then, like they probably will enable fundraising or ticketing online through Instagram and Facebook. And YouTube already had some, like a subscription model
Hmm.
where fans can already pay, super chat, and Twitch already have it, of course. So I just told him like, I don't think it's gonna work, because the big major social media agencies, they will probably accelerate this technology because they see how important it is now. And Mark Zuckerberg, he had a few live streams and he announced that, like, I want to help artists and small businesses. So they were deploying a lot of tools, probably already in the making for a few years, but they're like deploying it pretty quick.
Yeah.
Even Spotify enabled contribution, so you can enable PayPal on your profile. So I advised him, like, this is not gonna work. Like, you're way too small to compete with them. Like, either, unless you're like a really big party with a lot of investments and or some cool angle, it's not gonna work. So you saw that big spike in online platforms, and then then you had February after that. Actually, February of this year still was the big NFT explosion, and
Yeah.
then it kind of crashed, and then together with the Bitcoin price, and now it's kind of it went up pretty quickly after that, and now it's pretty stable. I think it's doing really
Yeah.
well. Not as crazy as March, not as crazy as in February, where some artists made millions. But it's definitely it's definitely more mature now. So that was kind of the development. Like people were just struggling, looking for solutions. But it was, even the PayPal integration with Spotify, I'm very curious to see if that actually, did something. I don't know many, I never saw like a fan supporting an artist directly through PayPal.
No,
I
me
don't think
neither.
that's really working. It's like
No.
just begging for money is not, it's not really working. You need to offer the fans something.
Yeah.
So merchandise. So some artists did like merchandise drops and NFT stuff and exclusive concerts. That
Yeah.
was a better solution. But just putting your PayPal link out there, that's not
Yeah.
a
True.
great creative solution. It's too simple.
Yeah. And like right now, you have the, as you said, the NFT market has cooled off a bit. Crypto has cooled off quite a bit as well. The industry didn't really move a thing because it's still frozen. It's well, of course, in states and stuff you can do some gigs, but aside from that, everything else is pretty much the same.
Yeah.
Um, where do you see the trend for artists at this moment?
You mean like in general, like bookings and
Yeah,
everything?
like in general, as you mentioned, like in February, everybody jumped on the NFT train.
Yeah.
Um, I kind of feel like all the artists have tried all the stuff that is out there, and now we need to pick our decision to say, okay, this is the best way going forward.
Yeah. Well, I think there's some other problems we have also in the music industry. Some There's some macro level developments happening. One, this because you have your podcast, but one of the biggest one is people listening less to music. I think
Yeah.
in certain markets, we have there's a lot of big new markets that are growing really fast: China, Russia, South America,
Hmm.
still. But like, let's say in general, if you look at Spotify, if you look at the number one way to make money for artists, Spotify and Apple Music. People have because of COVID, more and more people are listening to podcasts. They want to how you call it, like develop themselves. They want to learn about new stuff, and there's also less commuting. Like less time to actually put on some music because you're working from home. There's no events anymore. There's no pre-games at your house. There's no dance events. There's nothing really to, unless some background music to for your dinner party with friends. There's nothing. There
Yeah.
was not much to do with music, and I see. So that was the biggest trend for the past 2 years as well. Like people listening less to dance music, at least. Of course, some genres went up, like lo-fi, etc., because people want to
Hmm.
study and focus, and that's more functional music. But dance music, if we focus on dance music, that's a bad trend. That's not it's not going in the right direction, at least not for the markets where artists make most money right now. And like I already said, the new markets are growing, but not as fast as the old markets are
Yeah.
uh, slowing down. So that's in development, which is not good news for artists. So people are listening more to podcasts. Spotify is pushing podcasts more, like, harder than ever.
Yeah.
They don't want to be the number one music app. They want to be the number one audio app. That's already in development, happening for a few years.
Hmm.
Um, so if you're a music producer, your market share is probably it's going down because people only have a few hours in a day to spend their time on entertainment or infotainment.
Hmm.
Uh, so that's a big development, and so I just COVID is not the number one reason I think why the music went down. Also, I think it's also like that trend. And now, if you have, for example, if you have the daily drive or your algorithm on Spotify, you also see a lot of podcast snippets and podcasts, not just music. So the consumption is going down, with music. So if you're not in the podcast area, that's something you don't get back. People are
Yeah.
just they're listening, like I already said, a few hours a day. So that's a trend that worries me a bit because that means like there's so many there's the music output has been so high still, and because COVID, people are releasing more music because they want to compensate, the revenue. So they're releasing more. So there's more music, it's more artists. So the market's very saturated,
Hmm.
and that's kind of it's interesting, but it's really hard for smaller artists to actually break through the noise and yeah, be different. So what you see a lot in the past year, I don't know if maybe it's my bubble, but a lot of artists trying to break out on TikTok. So suddenly
Yeah.
they're spending more time on TikTok videos than music. And a lot of artists I speak to, they're like, yeah, well, it doesn't make any sense. Why would I put so much time into TikTok? It's about the music, etc. Which is
Yeah.
true. Like if you are the 1% top artist with the best, quality, or the best songs, the best like story out there with the music stuff, then you don't need to do those silly TikToks and reels, etc. But there's a huge gap, a huge group of people, let's say 95%, who don't who doesn't have that. They don't have
Yeah.
the traction yet, not the fan base, or they don't have the songs on the same level as these big artists,
Yeah.
or talented, super talented artists.
But that has been the macro trend for about maybe 10 years, at least 5 years. That
Yeah,
the music went down and social media, like brand awareness in general, went up.
yeah,
And you used to do it on Instagram like 5 years ago. You used Instagram to build your brand. Right now, TikTok is the platform to do it. But as you, yeah, the big trend in general is that music listening and the importance of your music within your artist career kept decreasing and decreasing. Funny enough.
yeah. But I think you're 100% right. But I think because of COVID and because of the podcast stuff, I think it accelerated in the past 2 years,
Hmm.
and also because of TikTok. I had a conversation with someone, and we talked about music discovery, and we were both like of course in a young audience, a young demographic, but these young people get older as well, and once the young people are on TikTok, just like Instagram, young people go on Instagram first, and old people will follow eventually.
Yeah,
um, but music discovery has been like also changed insanely in the past
definitely.
2 years. Like first it was really like New Music Friday, for us electronic music is Crate Diggers, Friday Crate Diggers, etc. But those streams are like how many streams you get from this playlist is really small. It doesn't
Not that
really do
much.
much. Yeah, it's not as doesn't have as much impact as before. But you see the music discovery really comes from reels and TikTok. People don't go maybe to Spotify as much to discover new music. They're just like they want to see rich media. They want to see funny videos or videos. Just music alone is getting boring for them. They're just so spoiled with content. And
Yeah.
so that's why Spotify actually just they're just testing also like the TikTok feed in Spotify, because they see this. They're not stupid. They see the trend.
The TikTok feed in Spotify.
Yeah, now you can yeah, they have basically stories in Spotify, so they're working on that. Yeah, so you can have small videos, and the same.
Okay.
If you look in your Wrapped 2021 year, you
Mm.
see small clips of videos of artists between your songs. They have like a thank you message. So they have the
Okay.
technology already. If you go on your phone, mobile phone, and you go to this playlist, you already see like snippets of video in between. And
Yeah.
there was a big article, I think a few weeks ago, about um, Spotify following TikTok now, because they know this trend. Like music discovery changed. Like
Yeah.
just have a playlist of songs, it's not enough. So
Mm.
that's why I think you see a lot of artists that trend, from past years, but especially past 2 years, in combination with the saturation, in combination with the consumption going down of music, that a lot of artists are forced. It's almost like they're like how you call it, they're not desperate, but they're like, okay, what should I do now? They don't know
Yeah.
anymore what to do, because there's so much stuff they have to do already.
That's the
That,
thing, like where do you see this end? That's the problem. Like as far as I know from clients, they already are struggling with social media and they already are struggling with content creation over music production. So where does this end? Like that's the big
well,
thing.
the worst for I don't want to be really negative, but if you what you see now is happening, the creators, were making great videos. They understand what people want to see, and they're very talented in what they do. With editing and the video creations. Just look at Mr. Beast, for example. One of the biggest
Yeah.
social media channels. He released a video and it had like 140 million views in a few days or something, like almost more than Squid Games, the movie itself. And of course, he's like using that success. Um, but if you look at the video, it's insane, like how they produce it and how high the entertainment level is. Like
Mhm.
the editing, it's fast. It's like there's never a dull moment. You always keep watching. So a lot of creators, like smaller creators on TikTok and Instagram and YouTube, they're also start making music as well. Because they can make music and they know what people want to hear, etc. So those people, they already have like amazing videos, content, social media channels, and for them, making music is just one of their talents. It's just one
Mhm.
of their many talents because they're like super creators.
Yeah.
Uh, and so they start making music, and they're also very successful at that. So all these other artists who just make music, they're struggling, and it's just how the market also works. It's an ask and demand thing, and now these creators are filling the gap. They see the results. They make a gimmick video and the song goes viral. They put it on Spotify.
Yeah.
They have millions of streams. Uh, they get discovered easily because of TikTok algorithm. And
Yeah.
that's also where the music discovery is heading to. So they use that. So it's just for them, it's a perfect storm. But
Would
for the
it
other
be
artists, it's the opposite.
would it be a smart, well, I think it's a smart decision. Creating like a duo, an artist duo, creator duo, how you would like to call it, like one
Yeah,
guy who is content creator, one guy who's making the music, go hand in hand. That kind of
it's
seems like
yeah.
the best thing you can do right now.
Yeah, some duos are, in especially in EDM scene, they're already doing that. You have like one producer and one entertainer. You
Yeah.
have,
Yeah.
example, Blessed Jacks or Bass Jackers. This is not a secret.
Yeah.
they tell people this. It's just a collaboration. So
Yeah.
it's already happening. In that space. And Bass Jackers, Ralph, for example, is more the producer. He's maybe not as much on social media channels or visible as Marlo. Like there's like a team effort there. So
Yeah.
you could definitely see that, and maybe the creators, they need help with the production stuff. So maybe they have a production team. A lot of big creators have a big team behind them, so they join. Maybe some kind of a management company in LA or a talent agency, and they probably help develop their verticals. Like okay,
Yeah.
YouTube, TikTok, merchandise. Okay, let's do some
Yeah.
music. Let's do a movie. Let's do a Netflix series. Like that's how it works. It's also that's how business
Yeah.
development works.
But
That's
it sounds like that's kind of the only way out as an artist who's mainly focused on music production or creating music and not necessarily on creating content.
yeah.
The only, well, not, no, I don't want to say the only, but it kind of feels like that, that it's the only way, is to create a
And it's
collaboration with.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and it's okay. It's
Sure,
okay
it's okay.
to pivot in a different business model. Like
Yeah.
I myself, I was a producer and I was struggling. Like it was I wasn't talented enough. I was making every song I was making was a different song. There was no, I didn't know anything about branding, etc.
Mhm.
Um, and I pivoted into the music industry because I actually enjoyed it way more than being in studio, make music full time. But it's okay, to change your course. It's not a bad thing. And producers, especially I think electronic music producers, uh, they have a really great skill set in producing. Like they can do
Mhm.
basically, if you're an electronic music producer, you can do everything. You're a band. You're basically one band. You can do the drums, the bass,
Yeah.
guitar, the vocals. You're like a multi-talent. So there's nothing wrong with using that talent in a different way. And maybe it's not your own career. Maybe it's working for a creator. Maybe it's creating some kind of collaboration or a super duo. So I think it's a great idea, and it can be a great way to keep making music, following your passion, and be
Yeah.
successful with, and have a bigger audience than just working alone. And there's a Y Combinator is a program to help startups, and they say we don't invest in solo entrepreneurs. You need to have a co-founder.
Mm.
There's a reason why they say that. There's a reason why businesses succeed, have a higher percentage of succeeding if you have a co-founder. There's a
Yeah.
reason for that. Maybe maybe that's the way. It's the same way for music producers, and that's why bass jackers, blaster jacks. You have a lot of duos out there, Dimitri Vegas like Mike's, and maybe that's why they're also
Yeah.
successful.
But the
It's not.
duos that the most successful duos that I know are two complete opposites of each other. So
Yeah,
Bass Jackers is the most obvious one.
yeah,
Ralph makes music, Marlon tours. That's
yeah,
like the extreme opposites, and it's a clear division as well. It's clear for them both. Like, okay, what's my task within this company?
yeah,
And I think if you look at it from a future perspective from the artist, it would make complete sense to say, you know what, I'm good at making music, I love making music, but I do know that I lack in the creative field of content. So
yeah.
let's find someone who has a skill for that. Combine those two things, and you might be super surprised about the results that you're going to get.
And don't forget, Marlon, for example, he's touring, but he's actually the creator because he's
Yeah, he's the eyes and the ears.
yeah, and he's on stage. He has the video content. He's
Yeah,
putting social media out there, and performing is just a channel. It's just one of the ways you
yeah,
can create content. So if you look at it in that way, and that was the whole problem with COVID as well. Like for us, for example, with the label, how do we promote music if nobody is playing it? Because one of the cool assets you have for a release is when a big artist or an artist plays it on the stage with a crowd reaction. There's
yeah,
people in the video. A lot of people are. If you see an image of a human or a video of humans, the human brain is more triggered than a standard artwork. That's just how the
yeah,
human brain works. So if you see a reaction of the crowd, it gives an amazing feeling. Like for example, I saw this video of Seth playing on. I think everyone saw it in the electronic scene, but he played the Squid Games remix on EDC Vegas, and it was with the fireworks, and and just that moment where the crowd going crazy, and then the fireworks, and with the drop, it gave me goosebumps. And I don't get goosebumps often, but that
yeah,
reaction, the crowd plus the fireworks, and of course our craze track "Do It To It" is an amazing track. One of the biggest songs of this year, and together with the Squid Games remix, it was a really really cool moment. And
mm,
do you think that track would be successful as much without that clip, or without Zed supporting it live, without having that footage? I don't know. Like it's an interesting question. It's just amazing
yeah,
content, which go viral easily. I saw it on my timeline multiple times.
yeah. I think you can agree on the fact that there's a lot of big shifts happening in the music industry. Not just the music industry, but in the world in general. But the
Yeah,
music industry is the thing we're focusing on here. Um, in the previous years, we've discussed this as well, like the whole label thing. That's also one of those things that is shifting. The use of labels, the value of labels, the way how artists think about their release schedules, their promotional ways, because now you can do a lot of things by yourself, for example.
yeah.
Um, so many big shifts. How do you look at that to the future? So what's something you think is changing and we
Yeah.
will see a lot more from in the future?
Well, one of the biggest changes, we talked about this last a few years ago, was independent release.
Hmm.
VS joining a label. And my conclusion was really like, well, just putting your record out there doesn't mean anything.
No.
It's the same as social media. And now you can actually say the same for NFT. Just putting your NFT out there doesn't mean anything. If you're, it's really about the branding, the brand, the push, the storyline, and have the marketing power. The followers.
Yeah.
So it's the same a few years ago. Um, if an artist doing a DistroKid release doesn't mean anything. It's almost the same, but now where you see there's a little shift happening. Another shift is happening is some artists, they actually have to push now, using TikTok and other channels, and they actually legit don't need a label anymore because they're
Yeah,
like, well, I can put it on my TikTok and the track will go viral, or I will have
yeah,
my own push. Why would I join a label? And that's
yeah. I will
true for a
reach
lot of artists. Yeah, and
Most
that's
people
true.
will reach enough people by themselves, because they have the social media reach through TikTok or Instagram or whatever they've built.
Yeah, but the cool thing about this for artists is another difference is with a few years ago. A few years ago, you needed the followers,
Yeah,
but now because the algorithm, you actually don't need 10,000 followers to be successful. Like it doesn't mean anything. Like if you have 100 followers on TikTok, and if your video responds well in the algorithm, you can go viral. We have one of the I know an example of an just like a it was like a talent, you know, uh, put his record out there, and then his track went viral on TikTok, and he made, the track did millions of streams, but he had no profile, no
yeah,
followers, nothing. So the opportunity, it's easier than ever, but you need to create the content. It needs to really work well.
yeah,
So there's a lot of artists that don't need to push at all because they know that, and you don't need 10,000 followers anymore because the
yeah.
algorithm. So that's actually really positive, I think, for
Hmm.
artists. If your music responds well, then it will work. For example, Showers Love Tonight. I uh, I almost signed a track a few years ago because my coworker Stein, he told me like, yo, this track they played in every club in Utrecht and in all the student cafes and stuff. And then we were like on the party, at the office, and I was sending an offer and didn't follow up. This is 4 years ago, and then the track found its way. So I'm still a big believer that good music will find its way,
Yeah,
especially with that track. Yeah, so that you see that trend a little bit more like, okay, the how much you're depending on artists, it's actually accelerating also. So you need less labels every year. You need less labels.
yeah.
Spotify is also helping artists more and more with the algorithms, etc. But on the other hand,
Oh,
a lot
the
of
mic is. Oh, it's back. I think it's back. Yeah,
on the other hand, I see also a big um, change because of COVID. A lot of managers couldn't afford really focusing on the management, just the management. So a lot of artists, they didn't have manager anymore, or their team was way smaller because they couldn't afford the team anymore. So as a label, we jumped in that gap as well, um, because we didn't depend on just events,
hmm,
because we are a label. Our music income, or our number one income, comes from streaming. Music consumption. So we kind of like, as a label, we ask ourselves the question: okay, what we ask this question each year. Why does an artist need us? What's the USP? And
yeah,
now with DistroKid, they really every month they have a new feature. Where you can split pay out artists directly, so you don't need a label anymore for the accountant part.
yeah,
There's a lot of developments with the legal stuff and NFTs and whatever, like smart contracts. So we're moving away really from the back office part, because anyone can release a song, anyone can now do the splits and everything. So that's not really exciting. So we ask ourselves the question: okay, what does artists still need in 2022? We try to answer that question. And it's I think what we're doing now with label, we're shifting more not towards management, but more like music management, basically.
yeah,
And instead of just releasing the music and doing product management and putting it online and promoting it, we're actually are going to be more on a strategy level. So I'm giving more strategy advice and setting up collabs and we are starting doing
Okay.
that, and the response has been really it's doing really well. Because we have the connections, we know how it works, and so smaller artists, we can push them really fast and really hard with our network, and also in combination with our social media channels, of course, and
Yeah.
Spotify playlists and etc. But we're definitely getting more creative, and I think artists always need that. I think they need team members. They need
Yeah.
help with the creative part, with the connections, because that's still like a very human process. You cannot
I
really
think
algorithms undertaking that over yet. So
yeah. I think that's where a big gap is, because management has always been there, labels have always been there. But if I look at the demand of what most of my clients are looking for, it's a music manager. So
yeah,
someone who has the connections towards other labels, someone who understands the whole legal part, the strategy part. So the music manager thing is something that there's a lot of demand for. It's just that there's not a lot of supply.
no,
There's not many people, who I know at least, who offer this,
no,
because
no,
it's
because
mostly,
yeah,
if you're looking for someone, you end up with a full-time manager, and that's not what you're looking for.
no, but it's really hard for a manager um, to do music management for a low percentage.
Yeah, I can
Well,
imagine. Yeah.
because if let's say let's say an average manager gets 20%, of the music revenue and gigs, and if you're like a smaller artist, even if a big artist, that's it's hard to as a manager to have to focus on that with just one client. You don't make enough money probably,
Yeah.
but for a label, um, if we can do it for less probably, and we still have we make music or make money through different ways, with the Spotify income stuff. So for us it's easier
Yeah.
to have multiple artists, and because we have a bigger team, we're a bit we're using we're scalable. We can have multiple
Yeah.
artists, multiple team members. We're not depending on one artist, or so that's just working in our favor, and we're fulfilling that demand, giving them more, and that's definitely what artists needed. They're
Yeah.
But if you're just a label, just doing the distribution part, like that's already gone
um,
a few years ago. That's
I
not
think it's a
interesting
smart
anymore.
decision. I never really thought about it, but now that you're mentioning it, it kind of makes sense that a label is making that decision,
Yeah, and
especially
it's
if
it's
you're a label with leverage.
and it's a little bit like the majors back in the days, 360 deals. Music All Stars did it. But it
Yeah.
was more like management,
Hmm.
and that was a bit different. And also the majors, they were just like, yeah, really collecting the percentages of events and everything, because they gave a huge advance, so they had to make it back somehow, but they actually wanted doing a lot of work for the
Yeah.
percentage. So
Yeah.
I think it's really different, and you can also see the opposite. You can see also managers who are starting record labels, so it's a little bit opposite. But
Yeah.
basically it's the same. Basically they're doing music management now.
Yeah.
um,
Exactly.
yeah, and
Yeah.
I think that's a good trend, for artists, because the artists, they give up less percentage, um, and they get the full service, from a label.
Yeah.
So I think
Exactly.
it's a win-win, and for labels, it's all about risk. Labels, they have to, if there's more risk involved, if you sign a new artist with a short contract, or you're not gonna you can't put a lot of time in it or money, because the risk is too high. Like
Yeah.
it's a numbers game as well, so you have to be careful
Yeah.
as a label, um, because you have only a few team members and only a few hours in a week. You need to look at the returns at one point. So if you have a long-term relationship with an artist, and you also get another revenue stream through management, which, although it's a low percentage, it's just it helps getting rid of the risk, and then the label can actually put more time in your career. So I think
Yeah.
that's a good development, and it's
Yeah.
not a 360 deal like back in the days. It's really it's going to be a friendly agreement,
Mhm.
to really create this win-win situation, because times are changing. It's
True. Yeah,
Yeah,
again, I think it's smart. Again, it's smart. I think that you guys are starting to focus on this. Let's start focusing on the future. The thing that I'm most excited about. You can call it Web 3.0. You can call it crypto, whatever you want. Um, where do you see NFTs within an artist's career? How do you see? How can an artist utilize NFTs without just creating a JPEG and selling it?
yeah, yeah. Putting a dollar sign on a JPEG,
Yeah, exactly.
like Elon Musk just said. Yeah, it's first of all, I think it's I talked about this actually. We talked about this a few years ago, uh,
Mm.
and I talked about this in 2016 or 18. I can't remember about blockchain, and I thought it was going in a different way. I thought, okay, Spotify acquired a blockchain company back in 2016 or whatever. We were doing some experiments with hardware, with smart contracts to pay out royalties directly to the artist from Spotify. So my idea was like, well, smart contracts and blockchain is going to be really helpful for
Hmm.
Spotify to pay out royalties directly to artists through the blockchain. So you get a stream. They look into the smart contract, and every month they collect the data, pay out directly to the artist. So I thought that was the development, a few years ago. So I thought like I probably said also like, well, definitely 2 years, it's gonna happen, blah blah. And now we're 2022 almost, nothing happened really in that space.
Yeah,
So
those things take time.
that's one big disappointment. I really expected. So that's actually interesting because I expected this development would be way much quicker.
Yeah,
Uh, they didn't do much yet. They're probably still working on it, trying to figure out. Tidal is making some moves in this space. They're like
yeah, exactly.
artist centered payouts, whatever. So that's a bit, little bit disappointing. Then suddenly this NFT, well, suddenly it's already in the works for a few years, but suddenly NFTs were really blowing up in January, February, um, because the technology was really ready for it, and it was easier for consumers to buy into, with the MetaMask software and all the accessible tools now. It was just too complicated.
Mm.
So the timing is here. It's getting easier and easier. Platforms such as Foundation, OpenSea, Nifty, Gateway, like all these Rarible, they're
Mhm.
all develop really quickly. They have new features every other week. So and it gets much easier now to buy into NFT as a consumer. You can, and some platforms offer Apple Pay
Yeah,
now, which is really interesting, because it's still, I think it's still it's still a bit complicated as a normal consumer
it
to
still
buy an
is
NFT.
complicated. Like
Yeah,
last week, I was. I think I can say I'm pretty deep into this world, so I kind of
yeah,
know how those things work. But I tried to do some yield farming.
yeah,
Holy shit! Like
yeah,
the
yeah. You
things.
have to stake
I,
it. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
poof,
Stake your
I
coins and yeah,
it really took me about an hour to understand. Like, okay, where's my money going? Where does it stay? What's actually happening with it?
yeah,
Like the steps you had to go through, they were so complicated. So that was also a moment where I realized we're so early in this game.
yeah.
Like probably 2 years, maybe 5 years from now, it, a step like that might be one click. You know?
Yeah, it's
Uh,
it's really, some platforms, they have Apple Pay now,
yeah,
and you can buy crypto directly from your credit card. Nifty, they also have that. You can buy with a credit
you
card,
know
so
what
it
I'm
gets easier, but it
Yeah,
is
you know
hard.
what I'm curious about is when Coinbase launches their NFT platform, because
Yeah,
I can imagine that they're going to make it much more consumer focused.
yeah,
So let's say one click buy options or one click sell options or
yeah,
whatever makes the consumer attracted to this. But I think that might be a step towards more adoption.
yeah. Robinhood and Coinbase, and they're like very customer centric. They
Yeah,
do a lot of surveys, and they know what, how people think, and they try to make it very easy.
yeah,
And Coinbase, with the wallet now, they have a wallet app as well, so that's getting better and better.
yeah.
Yeah, the NFT platform is going to be really interesting. It's going to be easier. It's just
So
a matter of
so
time when they get accepted into the App Store, where you can just like in-app purchase an NFT.
yeah.
When that happens, probably will happen in the next 6 months, 1 year, maybe
Yeah.
not, like, I don't know, and probably
Maybe
not.
another five. Yeah.
And
But when that happens, how can you utilize that NFT as an artist and not just selling
yeah,
that at JPEG?
so that was my was the first story to build into the the rest of the story. But
Hmm.
this is really important, because if it's hard for an fan to buy your NFT, that means there's too much fraction. That means only
Yeah.
1% of your followers, or maybe less, they
Hmm.
understand how to buy, or they understand NFT in the first place, and that's getting there. People are getting more educated. But to buy an NFT is another step. So you start with 100% conversion, and then it goes down to 0.1% conversion
Yeah.
into NFT. So that's why you see a lot of small artists that try to do the NFT and nobody's bidding on it or nobody's buying it, because it's just like 1%, 1%, 1%. And the crypto community is still very small. There's you only have maybe 2 million coin holders of a certain coin, of maybe 20
Yeah.
million bitcoins, holders. So it's still very small audience. Um, but you see, some platforms are making it very easy and accessible. For example, you have a platform called Record Shop. They did some drops with, like certain artists and labels, and then you can just check
Hmm.
out with your Apple Pay, and then own
What's
the
it?
package.
Record shop?
Record Shop, yeah. Yeah.
Recordshop.com or?
No, it's like without the E and clinkers. Like a
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Record Shop.
Syllables?
Yeah.
Record shop NFT. Oh, let me look into that. So
It's
they sell
f.
music.
I will send it to you on. I can't send it. It's
Yeah.
RCRDSHP. So this is an example, um, how they try to make it accessible to fans. It's not technically an NFT, because it's still locked into their platform, but they're working with OpenSea. They
Mm.
use the Flow blockchain, so it's still very early on. But
Mm.
they try it, and they try to make it happen.
It's a
So
start.
it's a start.
Yeah.
So these artists who don't know anything about it, they get approached by the marketing team and the artist teams. So all these platforms, they have artist teams that they educate the artists and explain what it means and what it does. So you see more and more artists getting comfortable with that, and because they actually don't have to do a lot. Those platforms have like a very professional team. They know what's working, what's not working, and
Yeah.
they work with you to create a drop. So you don't have to really understand how you have to mint your NFT or upload it or how to
Yeah.
promote it. They will take care of that. They just use your name and they do the marketing and the technical stuff. So I think that's a good development.
But this is purely music focused, right? So they release music in NFT form.
Yeah, it's not really an NFT, but it's more like a pack. You can buy a pack,
Yeah.
and it's what I like about them. Their prices are not crazy high, because you don't have to pay the gas fees, because they use a different blockchain. They don't use Ethereum,
Right.
they use Flow. So they sell packages for $5, $20,
Yeah.
and then you can exchange them for coins, and you can get like access to events, etc. It's just one example, like it's not
And
a.
those packages contain multiple songs or something.
Yeah, for example, yeah. So
So
you
it's
can
like
unlock.
the Pokemon cards where you don't know what you're buying, right? It's
Yeah, for
the
example, yeah.
the act of surprise
Yeah, and then
connected to it.
you can burn those cards and into something else. It's like it's a whole gamification. Um,
Okay. Interesting.
but that's what you see now. The trend is really like, okay, you know, it's too, for a lot of artists. It was a bit too hard to jump on this NFT train. But now these artist teams, they know how to approach the artists and to have
Yeah.
to do the work for them. So, but of course, if you're, of course, the big artists, they get approached first, and the labels with a bigger reach, because they know, like, okay, well, they have bigger fan base. It gets easier to sell those packages.
Yeah.
But what I like really about them is like the packages are very uh, there's less fraction, because of Apple Pay, shortcut, express checkout, and the packs are not super expensive. They're like uh, $5, $10, $20. So I think
Mm.
that's really important as well, because with Blau, for example, and other artists, they sell an NFT for 1 million, 2 million. But these are just like the top
Yeah.
1% whales. There are not many people like that out there. And if you're not into the crypto community as an artist, because Blau has been preaching about blockchain for years, so he built he built followers with a lot
Yeah.
of crypto people that follow him, because people know, okay, Blau is into crypto. So but if you don't have that crypto fan, it will be harder to sell your NFTs on a platform that is not accessible,
Yeah.
like a record shop. So that's like one development. You see some artists, they do a drop and they're not successful. It's the same with releasing your music on Spotify. Just releasing your music doesn't mean anything. It's not guaranteed someone will actually buy it. People
Yeah.
buying NFTs are probably, number one reason is probably, and people don't really admit this, I think, but they say it's because they're a fan. But number one is definitely, they want to buy the NFT because they think it will go up and they can sell it for
Yeah.
more and they can make money. That's like, for a lot of people, this is the number one reason to buy NFTs
Yeah.
is speculation and to make money. Because for a lot of people, at the end, it's about your wallet. And then the second one is definitely like fans. They want to be involved. They want to, like they buy merch. They want to buy into this artist, NFT, so they can say they're part of it. They
Yeah.
can own it, and they can show off to the artist and create a relationship on the level. Some platforms, they go a bit further, where you can actually buy a piece of the music. So you can buy 1%
Yeah.
of they call it NFT now. So it's like a security.
And
So
NFT.
S NFT.
Oh.
So you buy 1% of a song, and you can trade at 1%, but also you get the revenue each month of that song. So that's
Yeah.
very interesting, because that means you're actually buying like a real asset,
Yeah.
and
Like a
it
stake
actually,
stake in the artist.
yeah, and that's also a big trend. Um, and then as an artist, you can raise, depends on how big you are, but you can raise thousands of dollars. Instead of going
Yeah.
to a label, you can raise your own capital to pay for a music video or promotion or whatever you want to do with the money. And then you have the fans are involved instead of a label. So that's very interesting as well.
Yeah.
So there's different ways to do it. But it's just, at the end, it's all about your 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 brand as an artist, your reach. If you don't have that, it's going to be extremely hard to
Yeah.
sell an NFT,
I guess
especially if
that's
it's
the
expensive.
yeah. I guess that's the conclusion that I come back to every time the last 5 years as well. Like when it started with the whole label thing, it makes sense to start releasing by yourself if you have the reach for yourself, if you
Yeah,
have the fan base yourself. And then NFTs come along, it's the same thing all over again. Of course, anyone can make an NFT, but you need to have that audience that is interested enough in buying something from you.
yeah.
Um,
Unless,
so
it's like Spotify, when you have a story
yeah,
and you go to like it was back in the day, it was easier. Now it's harder. But if you have a story, you can tell, like, you listen, I'm an artist from blah blah blah, and I've been working on this album for 10 years, like whatever.
yeah,
That's interesting. And if you have an interesting angle to your project for an NFT, for example, and you approach a platform and you tell them, like, listen up, I'm gonna do something crazy. I'm gonna sell. I'm gonna do a guest performance when the number one. If someone's buying my NFT, I give them access to my ticket. They get tickets, or
yeah,
then they buy into you, and not the other way around. And then they
yeah,
can push you as an artist. You can feature on their website, and that's really important as well. So you have OpenSea is more a marketplace for all the NFTs. It's like like eBay,
yeah,
or you can be on a website where you can get featured, where they do the marketing for you. But then you need to offer them something special. Maybe it's
yeah,
something very creative or very special, or maybe it's something that has not been done before. But if you're just like trying to sell an NFT for the sake of selling an NFT, that's not gonna work.
no, it's not gonna work.
You have to create a storyline. You have to do something special, especially now the NFT. In the beginning, if you did an NFT, you were like, it was like special on its own. but just like back in the days when you're on Spotify, I don't know if you remember this, but having your music on Spotify was like a thing. Like, wow, I'm on
Mm.
Spotify. That's
Yeah.
insane. Like, wow, I'm on Beatport. I'm in
Yeah.
in a
Yeah.
record shop. Like, that's really cool. Like, wow, you're on Spotify. Wow, that's amazing. You made it. And now
Yeah.
it's not special at all. You're like, okay, you're on Spotify. Yeah, great. So what? Like, what's the
Yeah.
big deal?
It's pretty saturated over
Same with
time.
NFT. Like back in the days, maybe 2018, 19, if you're the first artist offering an NFT, like, wow, that's cool. This artist is doing an NFT drop. Wow, it's first artist ever. But then everyone else is following. Then you're one of the many. So it's the
Yeah.
same with any channel. That's just how it works. And so that's why I think for labels, like Revealed, obviously we're working on it. And but we have a huge
Mhm.
advantage because we are a brand.
You have the following, the
Yeah,
like the hardest thing in this whole story. You already have it, which makes it more easy for you guys to do it.
yeah, we already have it. And same with Adidas. They
Oh, wait. I think I muted you.
now.
Yeah, now it's working.
Same with Adidas, like Adidas. They bought a piece of land on Sandbox, and then that went viral because, oh my god, they're on board. Adidas is on board. But all they did was really like buying a piece of land. That's not so special, but it's because it's them. They're
Yep.
buying into this project, and then suddenly the Sand coin, which is the coin of Sandbox, went
Yeah.
from whatever 50 cents to $9. Because like,
Yeah.
oh, this is serious. But because they leverage their brand, they're like out there for many many years. And the same with the label Revealed. We invested a lot in the brand. Like we do the live streams, we do the social
Yeah.
media. We worked on it for 20 12 years, which is a long
Yeah.
time. And people recognize the brand, and that creates leverage, and it's all about, um, it's like raising money for your business. You have to convince investors why they should put money in your business. It's the same thing with NFT. Like, why should someone buy your
Yeah.
NFT? Like, what's your plan? Like what are you gonna do with the NFT? Are you still, one thing you saw really was like Deadmau5, for example. I think he's amazing, but what he did, he dropped an NFT collection, and then he was like, this is bullshit, stupid money or whatever. And then a month later, he dropped another collection, because he was kind of figuring out, like, why are people paying so much money? He even tweeted that. And then
Yeah.
I bought an NFT in the first collection, and I thought like, well, this is probably going to be 10x, from a month from now, but it collapsed, because he was diluting the NFTs. He was like, kept dropping collections. So my
Yeah.
NFT went from 1,500 to $200, in a month. Um,
Yeah.
so that's why that's what's also really important. Like, if you do a drop, an NFT drop, you cannot just, you should not screw your buyers, because if you do an NFT drop, then a week later another one, another one, or you don't push it at all, you drop it and you don't do anything. So what Blau was doing really smart, he was doing a drop and then another drop, and he realized quickly, like, well, if I keep doing these drops, then the value will go down, and then people are not going to buy into my next NFT, because they like, well, why should I buy your NFT? Because it's the price is
Yeah.
collapsing by 90%. So what he did was like, well, if you if you put my 5 NFTs together, if you burn those 5 NFTs, then you get this one special NFT. So
Hmm.
suddenly this price tripled overnight, because people are actually buying the first round of NFTs, because they knew there was the only way to get this other NFT. So he was like burning the
Yeah.
NFTs, and that's like a really important term, in the crypto industry, like burning tokens. That's why
Burning.
it's so important, because you're basically doing the opposite of dilution. There's less
Yeah. Making it
inventory.
scarcer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And
Exactly.
that's all about, the whole industry is all about scarcity. Like all the NFT stuff you see, like, okay, what's
Yeah.
the
Exclusivity.
ranking? Yeah, how exclusive is this?
Yeah.
If you do a collection drop, like you bought an NFT which is ranking maybe 2,000 of the 5,000, it's worth way less than if you're like
Yeah.
top 100. Because it
But that's
has this
nothing new,
special
That's
feature.
the same with art as well. If you have multiple copies of something, the first copy will always be worth more
Yeah,
than the tenth or the 100. So I do think that this whole technology thing is I'm a big believer in it, and I think it will bring a lot of options to the music industry.
Yeah,
I'm also aware of the fact that it will take at least 2 years. I'm more going towards the 5 years before this will become a bit more regular within like more adoption in general.
yeah, yeah,
Um, but I do think that's a game changer for a lot of artists.
yeah. Especially for our like other creatives than music, like for
Yeah,
them, digital artists, it was really hard for them to make any money,
yeah,
except doing jobs. And now they can suddenly, there's a famous Dutch woman who was like very young. She made millions with NFTs,
yeah,
and she's like, wow, finally my art is getting appreciated. Like after
yeah,
all these years,
exactly.
like this is for me, this is perfect. And
Yeah,
so that's a really good development. One, um, the other one big thing is the metaverse, the how NFTs, just NFTs. I think it's the same thing is gonna happen with music. Just NFT itself, I don't think. I think that's gonna be less and less special. But the integration into the metaverse, I think that's gonna be.
yeah,
It's already happening, obviously, but that's the biggest trend,
yeah.
and that's how you make those NFTs special. So,
But that's more
um,
the ownership, right? So being able to identify that you're the owner of a certain digital asset.
well, I mean more like so you own an NFT and you promote it in a game, for example, or you promote
Mm,
it on your land. For example, Decentraland. It's one
yeah,
of the metaverses or sandbox. You can you can buy a land or you can walk through the land. You don't need to buy it, and
yeah,
then you have a wearable, for example, like a shoe or a hat, and that's an NFT as well. So you can promote those wearables into these worlds. You can create activations and events, etc. And then these NFTs are they're getting more exposure, they're getting scarcer, like and I think
yeah,
that's a big trend you see already happening. Snoop Dogg did an event with Sandbox where you buy the Snoop Dogg pass and then you have access to his event, and then
yeah,
you can buy his this
yeah,
NFTs in Sandbox, and I'm very excited for that. I think that's
yeah,
that combination with music, um, and NFT and gamification and land, and I think that's where it's heading towards too.
yeah,
And Dead Mouse already have a piece of land. Richie Houghton, Blau has a big land in Decentraland where you can walk in his house, listen to his music, buy his wearable, go to his Spotify, and
yeah,
chat with other users. And I think that's very exciting. So as an artist, um, just launching NFT, that's not interesting. But what if you buy a piece of land or use that piece of land or walk through that piece of land and start talking to all these users and tell your story, or create
yeah,
your own wearable and then promote that. And like in Decentraland, if you walk through that land, you already see advertising everywhere, banners and
yeah. That's
real
crazy, right?
estate you can rent and etc. So, or even buy tickets to, you can go into a house, you buy 10 mana points or coins, and then you can do you can yeah, join an event or something like that. You already see
Yeah,
some artists and labels doing that, and they gain a new fan base through that
yeah,
because they're in a different, doing something different. So I'm very excited for that, and I think that's definitely one of the biggest use of NFT. Just buying an NFT and showing it off and trade it. Like I think that's going fade away. That's going to fade
yeah.
away. I think in the next few years. I think it needs to be used really.
Well, for sake of the 90% of listeners who didn't even know what an NFT was, let's not dive into that shithole because it's
Yeah,
it's even more complicated. I think that the best tip when it comes down to the metaverse, the best tip to the listeners is inform yourself. Watch some videos, listen to some podcasts to figure out what this whole thing is, what the options are. But do know that within 5 years,
yeah,
metaverse maybe even longer, um, it might be reality that you are chilling with your fan base in a digital world. So,
yeah,
I think the big takeaway from that is inform yourself, educate yourself, and learn more about this if you are planning to be an artist for longer than 1 year.
yeah. Just try to get involved.
Yeah, exactly.
Like collaborate with people who have a position there, or do something, or try to just just try it out. Can't do any harm. You don't need to go
Yeah,
all
exactly.
in, but just like try to do something and learn from it. And but you can already see it. I think it's going to be faster than 5 years. You already see people, a lot of artists starting a Discord channel now because they understand this is the way to communicate with this certain kind of
Hmm.
fans who are active on on these platforms. So
Yeah,
you see a lot of artists starting Discord, and before it was just Twitch and YouTube, but already going a little bit more direct to fans through Discord, and then Metaverse is just it's going to be integration Discord because they're already launching their wallet stuff as well.
yeah,
So
exactly.
it's so you already see a few artists doing launching more and more artists are launching their Discord channels. I think that's a sign, what it's
Yeah,
heading towards
true.
to. And that's a good start, because you will learn a
True.
lot from these fans as well, because they're
Yeah, just look
very
at
like,
what other people are doing. That's
yeah,
already a great thing to learn, like what are they doing? How are they setting this up? And how can I leverage this for myself, for my own career?
yeah,
Listen, I want to thank you for your time and for an insight into the future.
yeah, yeah. Let's do a follow up in a few years and let's see
Yeah, exactly.
how
Let's see
wrong or
how
correct we
things turn
are.
out.
Yeah,
Yeah, you mentioned doing this call in the metaverse. Let's do that next time. Might
yeah.
be
Let's do
nice.
the metaverse call. Yeah, that will be
Exactly.
exciting.
Have a good day, man. Nice seeing you.
You too. Bye.
Bye.